Good morning, everybody. I'm recording this message for you on the morning of Thursday, May 14th. Uh, as of right now, the one and only thing that you've got to do is start working on your final project. This video will have to do with that final project and both the writing and oral presentation components of it, though to be completely honest, it's mostly on the writing. The oral presentation I'm going to leave largely up to you and what you decide to do with it. So bear in mind, there is some latitude and freedom there. You can do what you like as long as you're conveying the information. And the written form of that information will be what I'm talking to you about today. First, though, I want to make sure to remind everybody that announcements have become much more important now that these are one of a couple of different ways I've got of communicating. Specifically, I'm looking right now at the announcement from Friday the 8th, just to make sure that everybody knows what was there, although, again, I'm hoping you read it yourself. The announcement goes, because we have the extra time, I've moved the Career Research Project due date back to the 20th. That will give us the chance to look in depth at the posted examples, and that's what this video will be about a little later on, and also to do some peer reviewing for anyone interested in looking at and offering up feedback to someone else's paper. Now, the fourth reason, I don't know, I've lost track, call it the third reason I'm hoping everybody's read this, is the fact that the announcement stated I needed your draft by the 13th if I was going to be able to facilitate peer review between you and anybody else. I didn't get any. So, if you haven't sent me that peer review by now, it's not really fair of me to take what you send me and give it to someone else. I'm guessing they're already up to their eyeballs in their own project. So, bear in mind, unfortunately, the due date for that is passed. Anyway, getting to the presentation itself. I want you to think about the Career Research Project as being more successful based on how much you can make it your own. There are a lot of different ways you can do this, and there are ways of doing it in which you put as little energy forth as necessary. That'll get it done, but it's really not going to make your career research project into something rewarding for you, and it's probably not going to result in that good a grade. So bear in mind, the more you can make this your own, the better that grade and experience overall is going to be, right? So make it your own and make it good. Now, with the assignment itself, doing well means fulfilling that assignment. And it might seem silly that I'm even saying that, except for the fact that not everybody's always done it. Fulfilling the assignment means referring to the assignment, and again, this isn't as obvious as you might think. In the past, students have not specified a career, not researched or written anything about the necessary schooling for the career, even though that's a really big part of the assignment. Students have identified a career but said nothing of its marketability, salary, duties, or anything else. And in one particular case, someone both wrote about how cool the career was, and that was it, and didn't develop anything else, and then gave a presentation on that very thing even after getting my comments back on his paper, which said, hey, there's most of the assignment you haven't covered here. So I'm trying to cover the widest variety of errors. There are certainly other ones, but those are the most significant. Basically, your career research project is as simple or complex as you make it. And what the slide points out comes directly from the guidelines page, so this should all sound pretty familiar. Basically, this is a paper presenting your research findings from Part 1 and Part 2 by discussing and citing the information you gathered during the process. That's it. It's pretty straightforward as long as you cover those findings. You're going to need to be somewhere between 750 and 1,000 words, and once you make it to that, try to limit yourself to it. Any more than 1,000 words, you're probably saying things you don't have to say. Lastly, you need to be able to decide based on your desired career field whether MLA or APA style is the most useful, and check out the OWL at Purdue University there for some guidance on which citation and format's going to work for you. Now, again, I'm hoping that you've watched the announcements because of the fact that you would have seen that we've eliminated the written research materials. I clearly can't get those from you in, actual on-paper form. Now, the thing is, those have been eliminated, but they're not unnecessary. Paper written just based on some things you read is not going to be organized. It's not really going to work well. You're probably not going to be as focused as you could be otherwise. So produce these materials and use the materials. Otherwise, the written research paper is going to suffer. It just will. The presentation itself should be between 5 and 7 minutes long, and it should, again, focus on your research findings. This isn't the same as just reading the paper out loud. The oral presentation should be planned and composed to be appealing to a listener and to appeal to multiple learning styles. I don't know how many of you have ever sat and just listened to somebody read something they've written, but it can be incredibly boring. I can't tell you how many lectures I fell asleep during when I was in graduate school for that exact reason. I recommend visual presentation tools like PowerPoint, Google Slides, or anything else you can come up with, but obviously I'm not going to push that too hard, right? Things being the way they are, just recording and uploading the oral presentation is probably going to be enough effort in and of itself. I'll tell you this though, the more interactive the presentation is, the better the grade's going to be always. Ladies and gentlemen, write it like you mean it. Investment in a topic and development of that topic will always result in better writing. It just will. Find your passion. Hopefully that's been part of the topic from the get-go, but at this point that passion really needs to at least be in the writing about it if it turns out that the topic maybe isn't what you thought it was. Though again, I'm hoping not to have anybody in that situation. That's just unfortunate. This will help to translate the paper into a better oral presentation, mainly because of the fact that dry, convoluted writing works on the page, barely, but it completely falls apart when you speak it. So, like I said earlier, you really want to plan your oral presentation to be intelligible in oral form. Just reading the paper is probably not going to work. In terms of what's worked well in the past, there are 4 different examples that you'll find on Blackboard in the folder that's specifically for the Career Research Paper Project, but I'm going to mention a few of those here. The gold standard is the Manager V3, and it's called V3 because of the fact that the author had to rewrite it several times to get it to where he wanted it, and that's a good thing. You can really see the evidence of that on the page. The assignment guidelines and requirements were just a starting point for this author. He went well beyond them. He uses non-required content to develop the analysis of the career in a way that the author's passionate about. That passion's clear. The writing has real style. That is, you can hear and feel and really sense the presence of the personality of the writer there just behind the words. And lastly, I don't say this much, but the formatting and citation is near flawless. It's really well done. After that, in terms of a paper that is thorough, clear, and honest, take a look at the career research paper on policing. It works well enough in written form. It didn't translate well into an oral presentation, but again, in written form was great. The problem, though, that I had while I was originally looking over this paper when it came in the previous semester is that large parts of it came directly from a paper mill. This is a website that exists to give you access to a paper on the topic that someone else has written before. And, obviously at that point, you're not citing it as research. You're probably using it as your own. Unfortunately, lots of different colleges assign career research projects, so bear in mind, lots of those are available, but using one of those is one of the best ways to guarantee you don't fulfill the assignment. Plus, if you get caught plagiarizing, that's an F. It's that simple, so don't do it. After that, in terms of papers that get the job done well enough to receive a good grade, well enough to have done everything necessary, but, they're not perfect, they just work well, are the papers on zoology and physical therapy. These are papers that, like I said, the author just got done, and that was good enough. These are papers that scored in the B range. In the end, make sure that your paper answers the questions from the assignment guidelines. Use all the sources required in the assignment guidelines. Take the project seriously. Your reader, whoever they are, can always tell if you don't care what you're doing. Find your passion. Find a way to love what you're doing, and that will always help. Remember that this will become an oral presentation at some point, so while you can't get away with just reading the paper off, if you keep that oral presentation in the back of your mind, it will help the writing to take shape, both in written and oral form. Write a paper you can take pride in, and finally, remember that a well-executed career project can actually help you as you work toward your goals. And I'm going to leave you with a rhetorical question here. Why else would you be here in college other than to work towards the career you want? As long as you see yourself working towards that, everything else is going to fall into place just that little bit better. Anyway, viewing this is my last best hope in helping to guide your career research project. If any of you have more specific questions that you want to ask me, go ahead and email me. You know, and I'm available through WebEx every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday online. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to schedule a one-on-one with you if there's some other time that works better. For now, be safe, be well, good luck, and I'll talk to you soon.